So today I'm going to talk about the 144,000 in Revelation 6. Okay? Now, so I went and Googled to see what the denominations, which denominations believe that they are the 144,000. And of course, the one that pops up first is the JWs. Now, I'm not going to use the name of the Creator, the Elohim of Israel, in conjunction with these people who call themselves what they call themselves, because that would be an offense against the name. And I will explain this to you in just a minute. The belief that the 144,000 mentioned in the book of Revelation is a specific literal group of believers is primarily held by the JWs, who believe that this group constitutes the exact number of Christians who will reign with Christ in heaven. Now, this is clearly Constantinism. It still, every denomination of Christianity is in fact the cult of Constantinism. That's what it is. They are all branches off of Constantine's creed. So they say that the anointed JWs believe that exactly 144,000 faithful Christians. But what does the scriptures say? Now you look at mainstream Christianity, Catholic and Protestant. What do they say? They say, well, it's only symbolic, which means it's not real. Many mainstream Christian denominations, such as Catholics, Methodists, and Presbyterians, interpret the 144,000 symbolically rather than a literal capped head count. Okay? Then you have what they call dispensationalists, and I told you that dispensationalism is going to, how you say, as Paul said, the simplicity, that which is the Mashiach. Dispensationalism is the opposite of the simplicity that is the Mashiach. In order to understand the simplicity of the Mashiach, you have to get realistic. You have to take the words literally. Okay? And evangelical theologians believe the 144,000 is a literal number, but they do not claim to be that group themselves. End-time evangelists, they view this group as a literal gathering of exactly 12,000 individuals from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. No, they don't, and I'll explain that one too. According to this theology, they will be converted during the Great Tribulation after the rapture. Oh. The rapture. Well, I'm here to tell you today that the rapture doctrine is going to get you your salvation canceled. To serve as evangelists to the Gentiles. So while they believe that while their church, or whoever their church is, goes up to heaven, that Israel, the only 144,000 of Israel, is they're going to evangelize the Gentiles. Well, if you read Luke 21, we'll go there. If you read Luke 21 and also Romans 11, verse 25, it says, when the time of the Gentiles comes to the end, and then you read verse 26, it says, all Israel shall be saved. So what do you mean the time of the Gentiles coming to the end? It means exactly that. That means the time of the Gentiles is over. The time of the Gentiles is finished. Kaput. That means the destruction of the Gentile. What? That's exactly what it means. Hold on. I'm getting 21. So, if you would have listened to my last video, you would know that Israel suffered its tribulation beginning in 66 CE. Okay? And it continued until 3.5 years when they came in and sacked Jerusalem in the middle of the week. You see. I know you Gentile Christians, this goes against everything you believe in because you are indoctrinated, you are not educated. Kind of like your educational system today, you know, the public school systems. They are indoctrination centers. They are not education centers. Same as your quote-unquote churches. They are indoctrination centers. They are not education centers. And they did fall by the edge of the sword. And they were led away captives into, I got to go to Strong's Concordance because they deliberately use words that they should not use to try to deceive. They were taken captives into all the Gentiles. That's what it says right there. Okay? But they put nations in there, and Jerusalem was trodden down by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles has ended. And to this day, Jerusalem is still trodden down by the Gentiles in a certain way, where you have the Muslims occupying the Temple Mount, where you have the Christians having all their pagan sites all around Jerusalem. The Orthodox Christians, the Catholics, they all do. So they are still trampling on Jerusalem. Then it says until the Gentiles, the time. So it is a set time. Until the time of the Gentiles is made full. When you read Romans 11, or comes to an end, it's finished, completed, just like it says here, see? Accomplished. That's it. It's over. So when Paul said in Romans 11, verse 25 and 26, for I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, and you are still ignorant of this mystery, that partial blindness has happened to Israel until the time of the Gentiles comes to the full. It means it's fulfilled. So this is exactly what it's talking about. So we go back here. I think I was done with this, right? So let's look at the 144,000. Okay. We will go, but before the 144,000 is mentioned, we have to look at what is the sixth seal. It says, now I will go to the fifth seal first, as Revelation 6 and verse 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Elohim and for the testimony which they held. These were the Talmudim. I know you folks hate that word, but I'm going to use it anyway. You and your replacement theology, you love to replace the correct words with dubious words like disciples. And any time I can find a way to find the right words to say to you in these videos, I will do it. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long? Master, holy and true, Ruach and true, do you not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth in white robes, kittles? You don't know what that is? Well, you should know. See, I just gave you another correct word. A kittel was given to each and every one of them. And it was said that they should continue to rest for a short time. Why? Because right after this right here is going to be when their fellow servants and their brethren, 2 prophets, 2 witnesses, are going to be killed as they were, so that prophecy would be fulfilled. So, what happens next? Now remember, short time. Which, one more proof that the 6th seal is in fact in, not is the 6th shofar sound, but it is in the 6th shofar sound. And I beheld, and he had opened up the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Not necessarily in that order. That all happened at once. And this aster of Shemayim fell unto the earth, as a fig tree cast her untimely figs. So now we know that it is multiple aster. Okay? Because it describes it in a way as when a fig tree is shaken and the figs all fall. When she is shaken with a mighty wind, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and coastland were moved, were shaken horrifically. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens, and in the rocks, and in the mountains, and in their bunkers. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face. So, obviously, the face, they are able to see the face of him that sits on the throne. Why? Because the throne has come down. Where does it come down to? A mountain in Israel. Those of you who read where Yehoshua was transfigured when the Talmudim were brought up unto a mountain, and where they met in future tense, or as a transfiguration, as a vision, because it talks about it being a vision. Moshe and EliYah. So when this event occurs, Moshe and EliYah will be summoned. The last two prophets. Not the old Moshe and EliYah, but men with the power who will be given the power of Moshe and EliYah. Sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. So the Lamb will be there with Jehovah. For the great day of his wrath is come. If the great day of his wrath is come, if it says that, then that's exactly what it is. And who shall be able to stand? Then we go to Revelation 9, and we read essentially the same thing, but it's within the fifth shofar sound. Right here. And the fifth messenger sounded, and I saw Aster. It doesn't say whether it's singular or plural. But when we read the previous passage, we clearly see that it's plural. It's many Aster, because you see, it says stars, or stars, literally a star as strewn over the sky, or multiples. So what we know this to be is asteroids. Aster and asteroid is the same thing. So the word is Aster. We see in this chapter in Revelation 6 that it is multiples, because like figs falling from the tree. Okay? And it says, and the sun and the air was darkened by reason of the smoke of the abyssos. What caused the smoke? Well, the meteorites falling out of the sky and striking the earth. I should say striking the Mediterranean Sea, the abyssos. Okay? So, this right here is inside of, it appears to be, right here. But see, there's more to this fifth shofar. Now, I said, well, wait a minute, what about the 144,000? Well, we go to the right here. After that happens, after that one little incident about the stars falling from the sky and causing darkness on the earth, and after these things I saw four messengers standing in the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, and the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor, in other words, stop everything. Hold on, wait a minute. And I saw another messenger ascending from the east, having the seal of the living, not God, but Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the four messengers, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their foreheads. Now, I've gone over this before, how somebody misinterpreted Yochanan's words, and he gave a warning. He gave a warning right here. For Revelation 22, verse 18, for I testify unto every man that hears the words of this prophecy. of this book, if any man shall add unto these things. Now they added, or they replaced the word Yehovah with God. That's a curse. So whoever did that is cursed. Shall be added unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book, of this prophecy, Yehovah shall take his part out of the book of life, out of Jerusalem, the one that comes down from the sky, and from the things which are written in this book. It's very important to understand. So when we go to where was I? When we start with the numbering, you cannot say it's a figure of speech or it's symbolic. It is literal. And when it says, I heard the number of them which are sealed, and them were sealed were 144,000 of all every tribe of the children of Israel. That means Dan is included. If he said every, and somebody messed this up here, it wasn't Yochanan who messed it up. It was whoever was doing the interpreting messed it up. And I will show you where the mess up is. The tribe of Yehuda were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. Of the hold on a minute. Hold on. I'll show you the screw up in just a minute. The tribe of Shimon were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph. Wait a minute. The tribe of Joseph? The tribe of Joseph is Manasseh and Ephraim. You see where somebody screwed up? So Manasseh is in here incorrectly, and Dan is notably missing. He said every tribe of the children of Israel. You see, folks, a Jew understands this. When you count the 12 tribes of Israel, Joseph is counted as a tribe, even though many times Ephraim and Manasseh are mentioned separately. Why? Because Joseph got a double portion of land. But if you count the 12 tribes of Israel, you do not say Manasseh and Joseph. You say Joseph for Manasseh and Ephraim. And if it says all of the tribes of Israel, then you must add Dan. You see where the screw up is? And also the warning by Yochanan not to mess this up. So somebody did. Now, so very often these denominations will forget about right here. And after this I beheld a great multitude, which no man could number. Now it says, You see what they did? If you read this with Strong's Concordance, you'll understand immediately that these are the rest of Israel. They were taken out of all the Gentiles, just as they were scattered among the Gentiles. So when they put the word of in there, that is incorrect. Wrong interpretation. It is from out of, because that's exactly what it says. Ek means from out of. Just as they were scattered among all the Gentiles, just as it is written in Luke 21. I just showed it to you. And kindreds and people and tongues. And they stood before the throne and before... Where is the throne? The throne? The Gentiles, the captains and the kings and all this other sort of thing, hide us from they're going in their bunkers under the rocks and saying, hide us from the face of the one who sits on the throne. Why? Because the one that sits on the throne has shown up. And so has the Lamb. And so clearly they're now on the earth. So these people who were once scattered among all the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles comes to the end, they are now gathered out of all, from out of all the Gentiles and kindreds and the peoples and tongues, and they are now standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, clothed with kittles, and palms in their hands. Now, so look, so it says, and one of the elders saying unto me, which are arrayed, who are these arrayed in white robes, and where did they come from? And I said unto him, Sir, you know. And he said unto me, these are those which came out of great tribulation. What great tribulation? The one in is it Luke? Get back over here in Luke. This tribulation, the ones who fell by the edge of the sword and were led away into captivity among the Gentiles, and Jerusalem was trodden by the Gentiles until the time of that tribulation. Not this tribulation. This tribulation is now commencing. This tribulation is a tribulation upon distress upon the what? Gentiles. So they had to stop everything as soon as the meteors started falling onto the Mediterranean Sea right around Rome. The messenger comes out of the east and says, hold everything up. So, these are they which came out of great tribulation, and they have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. How have they done that? How did they do that? Well, these two. But we will start with Isaiah 66. For behold, Jehovah, not the Lord, you see that? Jehovah will come with fire and with his chariot. Yes. That's the reason why the Gentiles, the kings and the captains and so forth, are going to be hiding in their bunkers when they see this. With a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and rebuke with the fire of flames. And for by fire and by the sword will Jehovah judge all flesh, and his slain shall be many. I know their works and their thoughts, and it shall come to pass that I will gather the Gentiles and the tongues, and they will come and see my glory. How will they do that? I will show you. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send fugitives. Palit is fugitives. A refugee, fugitives. Unto the Gentiles, to Tarshish first. Isaiah 60 verse 8. To Tarshish first. To do what? To gather the people of Israel on flying ships of Tarshish. Read Isaiah 60 and verse 8, because that's what it says, flying ships, to Assyria and to Egypt, to Russia and to Greece, and to the Roman Empire, to hear my fame, to see my glory, and they, the two fugitives, will declare my glory among the Gentiles, and they will bring all your brethren, that's Israel, for an offering unto Jehovah out of all the Gentiles upon Sus, which is a swallow or a horse, but a swallow from its rapid flight. So we're talking about birds in rapid flight, flying ships of Tarshish. Okay? On every form of transportation as I can find to where? To my holy mountain Jerusalem. So this is where they're going to go. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you've been indoctrinated with. Your indoctrination is wrong. The words of the prophets shall stand as written in Revelation 10 and verse 7. Now, so then we go to here, and we see more of what the, well, we'll go to, where is it? Revelation 11. Here we go. So the two witnesses. There was given unto me a reed like unto a rod, and the messenger saying, rise and measure the temple of Elohim. It was still, when it was still standing. And the altar and them which worship therein, but the court which is outside the temple, throw it out. Not leave it out, cast it out, banish it, throw it out. Here's another word that did not belong there. Leave it out. And measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the Ruach city, they shall tread underfoot 42 months, and they did. Vespasian was the emperor. Titus was his son who performed that. And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they will prophesy. So they are prophets. And 1,260 days, for every day that they sacked Jerusalem in sackcloth. Yes, and I'm wearing sackcloth to point to the two witnesses. They are coming for you Gentiles, and they are coming for Israel to bring them back home, no matter what you say. There's nothing you can do to stop it. There is no false doctrine, including your false doctrine of the rapture, that can stop them from performing this duty. These are the two olive trees and the two lampstands standing before the Elohim of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth, just like EliYah the prophet. he called fire down from the sky to kill 100 men and their captains, and devoured their enemies. If any man will hurt them, he must be in this manner be killed. These have the power to shut the sky. EliYah the prophet. That it rain not in the days of the prophecy. Can you imagine what will happen when there is zero rain on the earth for 1 month? It will be utterly catastrophic. So hold everything until the 144,000 and the innumerable multitude of Israel is gathered. Who's going to do the gathering? Well, we just read it. It's going to be these guys. Reign not in the days of the prophecy, and have power over the water to turn them into blood. Moshe. And to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. As often as they wish. So, all of your sorcery, all of your AI, all of your weapons of mass destruction, all of your intelligence, from the CIA, SAS, whatever, none of it's going to matter if you can't find anything to drink or to eat. They're going to crush the will of the Gentiles in that manner. Now, when they have finished their testimony after 3.5 years, the Christian beast that ascends out of the abyssos, yes, the Mediterranean Sea, the man at the Vatican, shall make war against them, and shall overcome those 2 witnesses, and shall kill them, and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which is Rome, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, that crucified our Mashiach. Now, it says where also our Mashiach was crucified. Well, Yehoshua was killed outside the city of Jerusalem, not inside. So it wasn't Jerusalem. Jerusalem was never called that great city ever. But Rome was called that great city numerous times. And they, the peoples and the kindreds and the tongues of the Gentiles, shall see their dead bodies. Well, the great city of the Jews or the great city of the Gentiles? Which one is it? That's proof that it's Rome. Right there. You got to pay attention. You got to realize what these folks are doing, manipulating the words of Yochanan, when Yochanan clearly warned not to do that, and they would be cursed if they did. But if you are careful reading this, you'll see, you'll understand what's going on here, and why the indoctrinated will never understand, but while the studious will understand. For 3.5 days, and shall suffer their bodies to be put in graves, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts to one another, because these 2 prophets tormented them that dwell upon the earth. And after 3.5 days, the ruach of life from Jehovah entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And they heard a great voice from the sky saying, Come up here. Now, is that up in the planets? No. In the sky. You know, the atmosphere. And they ascended up to the sky, and they stood in a cloud. And while they were standing on a cloud, their enemies beheld them. And at the same hour there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and the earthquake was slain of 7,000 men. And the Jews in Israel were affrighted and gave glory to the Elohim of heaven. Now, we also read here what these two, the ones who the dragon was wroth, made war with was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. That's the two witnesses which kept the commandment of Jehovah and have the testimony of Yehoshua HaMashiach. Okay? They killed him. But they could not touch the woman. Why? Because these two witnesses had gathered the woman. That is Israel. The church did not give birth to the Mashiach. Israel did. So to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, her place. That's clearly Israel, her place, where she is nourished for, it says nourished there, for a season and a half, from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood. Yes, they're going to. That's the Ezekiel 38:39 war, that he might cause her to be carried away after the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast up out of the earth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and then went to make. So once they are devastated, their armies are devastated after invading Israel, they're going to kill the 2 witnesses which no longer have any power, and thus setting the stage for the 7 last plagues that will utterly destroy the Gentiles, except for just a few. Now, let me say this again. The 144,000, they will be representatives from Yehoshua to the people of Israel, the innumerable multitude. When we read Isaiah 66, Israel will be for priests and Levites, just as it is written in the book of Exodus. They were supposed to be for priests and Levites to the Gentiles. That's what their job was. You see, and if you read Isaiah 60, you will see that the remainder of the Gentiles who are not killed are going to have to come and build the walls, build back up the walls of, or build up whatever that is required to be built up, although it does say that New Jerusalem is coming down from the sky. But it says they're going to be bringing in their wealth, the gold and silver. And it's in Haggai 20. Haggai 2 says the gold and the silver is all mine. So in Isaiah 60 you will read that they're going to have to bring all the silver and gold into the New Jerusalem, to Jehovah, because it's all his. And It shall come to pass that from one new moon to the other, and from one Shabbat to another, yes, Shabbat is going to be reinstated, shall all flesh come to worship me, says Jehovah. Now, if you still believe that it is symbolic, the 144,000 is symbolic, you are indoctrinated, you are hopelessly indoctrinated, and there is no help for you except to suffer the great tribulation that's coming upon the Gentiles, just like the great tribulation came upon Israel. Hopefully you will be studious and not be indoctrinated.